The ugly side of reality TV. Watching reality TV shows is like a guilty pleasure. Deep down, we know it's not 100% real, but we watch them anyway. Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is Tamara Lynette Tells. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 reality shows, past and present, that are not what they seem, and in many cases, were a nightmare for the participants. Let's go. Number 1, Bridezillas. Now, Bridezillas is a reality show that documented over the top brides. Some were just straight up mean as they interacted with their family and friends to prepare for their wedding. For the first couple of seasons of this show, producers lied to the bride. They told some of the contestants that the show was called Manhattan Brides, a show about the stress of planning elaborate weddings, like high-end weddings. They told other women the show was called Metro Brides, a show about successful New York brides as they prepared for their weddings while running businesses or having a demanding career. Meanwhile, once the cameras started rolling, some brides claim the crew members would constantly push them to be like more dramatic and whiny and angry. They also required that they do multiple takes of the same moment until they get the best one. And directors would ask them to cuss more, like the more cussing, the better. Then they would edit the show around these fake outbursts.
Right, and you don't have a tux on Saturday. I'm staying my black ass home.
My dad, Thomas, he's the only person that's here. My dad.
I'm going back there. I'm done. I told you where I wanted people to be. I'm done.
Suzanne, get in this damn car now.
I don't care what they told these women. I wouldn't let them filming me behaving like this just for my little 5 minutes of fame. Some of the brides were so unhappy with the final cut that they filed lawsuits against the show. Number 2, Hell's Kitchen. Now, this is a cooking show where aspiring chefs battle it out for the chance to be head chef at one of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants. So Gordon Ramsay is a Michelin chef with a bad temper, and from what I understand, the temper is real.
Does that look good to you? So if it doesn't look good to you, why are you serving it to me? That looks like a dog's dinner. And you want me to serve that in there? Then you want to walk away winning a restaurant? Fuck yourself. Get it in the bin.
What they do to these wannabe chefs behind the scenes is ridiculous. Contestants were forced to sleep in military-type barracks, meaning they were uncomfortable and had no privacy. And the crew often made them work 19-hour days or only allowed them to get a few hours of sleep. So part of the behind the scenes strategy of the show is to have everyone sleep deprived, then continue to put them in stressful situations so they would make mistakes, say stupid things, or have meltdowns on camera. Making a meal on Hell's Kitchen sounds way too stressful to me. I'm going to stick with ordering my meals from HelloFresh because they deliver them right to my door and I can make them in the comfort of my own home without Chef Ramsay all up in my face. Lately, I've been drooling over their breakfast meals. They are super easy to make. This one only took 10 minutes. They sent me all of the ingredients, which are pre-portioned and fresh, of course. The recipe cards always break down the directions on how to prepare the ingredients step by step, which is great because, child, sometimes I don't want to have to think about it. Just send me one of your 50 meal options from your ever-changing menu and tell me what to do. Now, this meal only had a handful of ingredients to combine, and voila, it was done. And let me tell you, it's even yummier than it looks. Now, I took these spinach and feta egg bites to work for breakfast. I mean, meal prep doesn't get any easier than this. All I had to do was pop them in the microwave to heat them up for a few minutes, and breakfast was ready. These were a yummy full. Definitely add them to your list. Speaking of your list, you know I bring you the deals. For free breakfast for life, go to HelloFresh.com and use code FREETLT. One free breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com with code FREETLT. Bon appetit! Number 3, The Simple Life. The Simple Life followed socialites Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, young rich girls who supposedly had glamorous, pampered lives. Later we learned they may have been rich, but not necessarily happy. Anyway, they packed up their Gucci bags and hit the road to live and work in small towns throughout the United States. The idea was for the audience to watch 2 rich, dumb blondes struggling to make it in the real world as they attempted to work in like fast food restaurants or work as farmhands and other fish out of water type moments.
wanna kiss my butt?
Yeah, hold up. Give me that.
He hates you. He's already made out with like 4 other girls, and me and Paris. We're gonna tag team him tonight. No, I'm just kidding.
Both on and off camera, Paris had a ditzy persona, a stereotypical rich girl who didn't earn her riches. However, years later, she wrote a book and claimed her dumb bimbo persona was an act she put on to get famous and a defense mechanism for the abuse she suffered as a kid.
I think that for a long time people have misunderstood and underestimated me, but I can understand playing that character. Of course they were going to assume otherwise, but I'm not a dumb blonde. I'm just very good at pretending to be one.
Is Paris the most amazing method actress we've ever seen, or was this an attempt to change her image? Number 4, Pimp My Ride. This was a very popular MTV show that premiered back in 2004, where people brought their old beat-up cars to rapper exhibit, and after a few days, they were transformed into over-the-top, ridiculously customized cars. Now, to have their car featured on the show, contestants had to agree that if they attempted to sell their car, they weren't allowed to say the car was on Pimp My Ride. But if they decided to keep the car, they could brag all day about being on the show. I think they did this because they wanted to keep some of their makeover blunders a secret.
Go ahead, get busy. All thing you gotta do is put the ice in there, get your cup, put it underneath there.
All right.
Let's go, big money.
Oh, the deception of it all. Before these cars were revamped, many of them were made to look even worse than they already were. So producers exaggerated the damage of the cars by like stripping paint or making dents larger than what they were originally, like pulling off bumpers and so on. So viewers were told that these transformations took place over only a few days or a week, but that's not true. They usually took several weeks or months, which was bad because the owners needed their cars for work or school. This was the whole point. Okay, so MTV gave them $2,000 to rent a car, which sounds good, right? Except for, like I said, they would keep the cars so long that the $2,000 wouldn't cover all the rental time. But even worse, most of the participants weren't old enough to even rent a car, so the $2,000 didn't solve their lack of transportation problem. Because remember, this was before Uber and Lyft. As for the upgrades on the cars, some of them were fake. For example, they had a car that needed a new muffler, but instead of replacing the muffler, they installed a fake exhaust pipe so it would sound like a car is supposed to sound. But the biggest problem with this show is that they tricked these cars out so much that some of them were no longer legal to drive, or they were unsafe, or gadgets weren't installed in a way for it to last longer than a few days. The majority of the modifications were either removed right after the cameras were turned off because the owner wasn't allowed to keep the pricey upgrades, or they were removed because they stopped working, like leaving most of the cars in worse condition than what they were to begin with. Also, they didn't fix mechanical issues, so the owners basically had pimped out buckets. They always had to have a tow truck on the set. It wasn't unusual for a car to have to be towed on and off the set. The majority of the cars featured on this show were out of commission not long after their episode. Number 5, Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Now, this is a show that premiered in 2003, where a deserving family receives a renovation of a lifetime on their home for free. It was hosted by Ty Pennington. So they focused their home makeovers for families that had hardships like disabilities, finances, or experienced a natural disaster. Unfortunately, the joy of these makeovers quickly went away once reality set back in. After being on the show, the family's financial hardships didn't end. Once the amazing upgrades to their homes were complete, many experienced their utility bills being triple of what they were before the elaborate makeover. One of the most common problems these homeowners faced was the property value increased, and with the higher property value comes higher taxes. And as we know, the tax man doesn't care that their home was upgraded to make it easier for little Timmy to get around in his wheelchair. No, that inflated tax bill wasn't going anywhere. Many of the homeowners couldn't afford to keep up with the taxes, so some of them had no choice but to sell their house, while others lost their homes to foreclosure. But that's not all. Many complained that their renovations were unfinished, like sinks that weren't properly connected, lights weren't hooked up to electricity. They redid a fire station, but it wasn't functional because a fire alarm didn't work. Hello, a fire station with no fire alarm, and the renovations weren't done to code. One Redditor told the story of a home that was renovated in a sketchy area where she used to live with a high crime rate. They created a $400,000 home with giant plate glass windows and sliding glass doors in a high crime area where the average home was worth $60,000. Now, this is how the editor described what happened after the renovation. They filmed exactly where they installed all of the new technology and automation, exactly how to get around the house from one room to the next, and aired it on national TV. A week after that show aired, it was all over the local news that the house was, surprise, broken into and cleaned out. Every TV, every computer, everything. Signing up to be on a reality TV show because it seems like it could be fun or give the opportunity to have 5 minutes of fame can lead to serious disappointment, and in some cases, walking away with less than what you started with. This is just a small sampling of disappointed reality show participants. This video could have easily been 4 hours long because there are so many stories, but it's not. That's all I got for now. I hope you enjoyed this walk down reality show lane. Oh, and the word on the street is that Married at First Sight Season 18 is set to premiere October 2nd, 2024. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in my next video.